Hey y'all, it's Laura and welcome back to a new series. This one's all about embellishment clusters, which is something that has been highly requested. So this is a quick 6-video series and I'm going to be going over the 5 types of embellishment clusters that I make the most often. And then the 6th video will discuss positioning of clusters, which is something that I know a lot of you have had questions about, and I have some very easy ways to think about how to put your clusters around your photos and around your layout in general. Now, I do find it easier to create playlists to keep all of these series intact in one place so you can find them easily. So if you go to my profile, and there's a little bar across the top that has home, videos, etc. And one of them is playlists. And if you click on it, you can find each of my series all compacted into one nice little clean list, which I adore. So there will be a full playlist for this series as well. So if you've missed any of the videos, you can go back and check those out. Now let's jump over to the desk and dive into today's cluster. This week we're diving into the corner clusters, which is a bit of a combination of the last 2 weeks. So we've done the vertical and the horizontal. This is a corner. So it's pretty much where the horizontal and the vertical meet. Now this can be done very simply, or it can be done really complex. I have examples of both. So here's a very simple one. We have that same base of a word phrase here, but we also have banners functioning as a base down here. So the eye goes in both directions. The reason I wanted to do that on this layout is because there are important elements all over the place. There's important elements to the right, there's important elements straight down. And so by using these corner clusters in both corners, it helps to keep your eye concentrated on what's important in the middle. So now I have, just like before, have these little bases of a word phrase and banners, and then soften them with the flowers in the corner. Same thing down here. I have a word phrase as a base, and then I'm using the side of the journaling spot as my second base and building up a line of soft, rounded florals to add a little bit of whimsy and interest. On this next layout, my corner cluster here is on this side. So I've used this word phrase sticker as my base and then built it up around the side using a larger flat sticker. So between the flat sticker here, the flat sticker here, I've created my base in 2 directions. I've added in some little hearts and a little bow to soften the overall look, but it's still a corner cluster. On this next layout, I've primarily done corner clusters for most of these, and they're very soft and very subtle. And the point here is that they don't have to be big. They don't have to be substantial. They can be small. So down here I have my word phrase as a base, and this flower just slides right up the side of my photo, this little leaf here, giving it a second base. I've added a floral and a heart and some enamel dots to soften the look, but just a very simple corner embellishment cluster on your photos is so impactful. It really helps take the photos from interesting to wow. It pulls your eye in and makes you want to look at them in more detail. So this next one, again, keeping it super simple, but I wanted to show you a looser version of the corner cluster, and that's this one here in particular. I have my base of this little word phrase, and then I've added a puffy sticker house that pushes your eye up. So it is definitely a corner cluster, but it's very simple, and it has this nice little epoxy flare right next to it, and that's it. That's the whole cluster. It doesn't have to be heavily layered. It doesn't have to hold all bits and pieces of embellishments. You can keep it simple, and it still works. Now, some of you are probably a little overwhelmed by this layout, and I don't blame you, but this is the queen of the corner clusters. This is my 4 corners design. If you're familiar with Go-To Designs, you've seen this one before. So the 4 corners design is essentially an enormous, layered, detailed, beauteous corner cluster in all 4 of the layout's corners. And these are the main sources of embellishment on the whole layout. While there's a couple small bits and pieces around the photos, these are the star of the show. But because they're so balanced across the page, they actually don't draw as much attention to themselves as you might think. Because my photos are quite simple, your mind goes, oh wow, there's a lot going on out here, and zooms into the center instead. So here I have bases of tickets and banners, and they're going in both directions, just like before. Now I have pretty heavy bases on these larger clusters because of their size and because of how many embellishments I'm piling on top. I want that base to feel substantial. Adding on top, I've added some word phrases, some nice rounded cameras and florals, again, to soften that look and to give it that whimsical, sweet feel. So that's it for our corner clusters. Let's go ahead and put one together. To give you an example, you can try yourself. Today we're talking about the corner cluster. Now, if you remember from earlier this video, the corner cluster essentially has two bases, one in each direction. Now, I have a tendency for the vertical side to use banners. So things like this that are cut into kind of a banner shape. So for example, I might use this ticket piece and then some of these banner pieces underneath. I might even add on a little word phrase here and there just to give it a little extra oomph. And then from there, I keep adding. So I'm going to keep layering the sides and the vertical and the horizontal to create a nice, strong corner shape. This can be used in the corner of the layouts like I showed you, or it can also be used on the corner of photos. So for example, here's a photo. And I could just slide it in on top of my photo. So here we go, a nice little cluster right around the photo. These don't have to be super complicated. Of course, they can be very simple, just like this. You can add in additional shapes. You could bring in hearts, you could bring in circles, anything that helps to soften it. In this case, we'll bring in a floral here, and that kind of softens the corners and the edges. Okay, I found a couple of hearts. So we can go ahead and tuck those in back behind my base. So these can be tucked in front of or behind the base. It doesn't really matter whichever one you're more comfortable with. And now you have a more rounded shape to this corner cluster. These are really fun to make. I really enjoy them. I hope this was a helpful example as well as the layouts that I showed you. But let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask those as well. We will be doing another one every single Saturday this month of October and a little bit of November. So be sure to come back and see what's up next. That's it for this one, guys. Until next time, bye.